The end. You want me to check the closet for monsters tonight? No? Okay. Good night, kiddos.
Ready for your real bedtime story, kiddos? If you get scared, just remember to close your eyes and tell yourself it's not real. This is Midnight Apocrypha. For tonight's taste of terror, we bring you a mile high and a mile deep.
How old would you say I am, partner? I bet you wouldn't guess in a million years. This beard would fool you, I suppose. Quite a set of whiskers. You'd probably guess me around 60, 65. Well, I'm not 60, 65, partner. Can't guess, huh? Well, I'll tell you. I'm 34. Wouldn't think it, would you? Practically everybody where I come from wears a beard. Montana, Silver Bow County, Butte, Montana, mile high and a mile deep. Right. The city of Butte is almost exactly a mile above sea level, and the copper mines go down through the solid rock of the Bitterroot Mountains more than a mile. Mile high, mile deep. Get it? See, this mountain that Butte sits on is pretty near solid copper once. Still a lot of it there, but in 70 or 80 years they've cleaned a lot of it out, too. That mountain's like a honeycomb now, with drifts and stopes and tunnels and cross-cuts going every which way down under. Miles and miles of tunnels bored out of living rock at about 1 million levels. Used to have a joke they'd tell visitors when they went down in the mines. "Where's the nearest saloon?" one fella'd say. The other'd come right back. 1 mile from here, he'd say. 1 mile straight up. Too true. Gives you a funny feeling, doesn't it? If you're underground, you can think about the people up top riding around in their automobiles, buying groceries, talking to people, all that, and never giving you a thought, maybe. And if you're walking down Broadway, Mercury Street, Arizona Street, you can maybe give your imagination a workout thinking about the guys in hard hats way down there in the bowels of the mountains, pecking away at the seams of copper with 17,000 million billion tons of rock pressing down on them, and the heat sucking the sweat out of them and turning them into rags. Yeah, I should say so. Oh, it's different today. Mines are air-conditioned now, mostly. They've got ventilating plants 3/4 of a mile underground that serve a town of 2,000. Great big rooms full of machinery 40, 50 feet high, and every bit of it brought down piece by little piece down a shaft maybe as big as your kitchen door. You'd be surprised what men and machinery can do, partner. Then again, you'd be surprised by what men and machinery can't do. A mile underground. I found out. I say I found out. I found out the hard way, partner. I wish she didn't have that light on. It hurts my eyes. There isn't much light down there in the copper mines. Some places there isn't any light at all. Some places there's just hot, heavy darkness and silence, like a grave. Only in a grave there's a nice heavy coffin to keep the earth from pressing down on you. Down there's nothing. Just the naked rocks. And they're awful close. You know, it's a curious thing. There isn't much of the Earth's surface that people haven't seen. Sure, there's a few blank spots on the map, but throughout the millions of years the Earth's been here, people have learned a lot about the outside. They've even gotten a pretty fair knowledge about what's down in the ocean, but the inside of the Earth, you don't know much about that, do you? See, the Earth's about 8,000 miles from one side to the other. The few people have been down maybe a mile and a half. The deepest mine in the world is just a scratch on the surface. The rest is a mystery. There's a few people who have a pretty good idea what the rest of it's like. There's maybe a half a dozen who know. Me, for instance. I know. That's what I wanted to tell you about. It was January 26th, 1932. Doesn't seem like 16 years ago. Seems like 600. My father was an assistant superintendent of one of them big mines, and I had pretty much the run of the place. They used to let me guide parties of tourists down below, take them down, and answer all the silly questions, see they didn't get lost or smacked by a carload of ore or lose a shoe in the mud, you know. I knew that mine pretty well, about as well as anybody. Nobody, though, knows all the passageways down there. I told you there's hundreds of miles of them that are known. Also, there's some that nobody knows about. Well, I'd had a party down at the 3,700-foot level. 8 of them, I remember. 4 women and 4 men, politicians and their wives from Pennsylvania. And Louie Sullivan was with me. Lad about my age that I used to run with. His first time underground. I'd asked him to come along a half dozen times, but he always turned me down. Claustrophobia, isn't that what you call it? Fear of enclosed spaces. Yeah. I can still see Louie, standing there with a raincoat on. It's damp down there, you know. And a hard hat with a miner's lamp on it, breathing through his mouth and the sweat pouring down his face as I dropped the gate on the cage and rang the signal to take it away.
Hey, wait. Ain't we going?
The cage is pretty full, Louie. It'll be right back down again.
I don't like this thing.
Cut it out, Louie.
I can't breathe down here.
Keep your shirt on. We'll be out in a few minutes.
I don't like that cage, neither.
It's the only way to get out.
Well, it goes too fast.
You'll get used to it.
Not me. You're never getting me down here again. How long before the cage will come down?
A few minutes. Say, you want to see something?
See what?
The Indian writing?
What Indian writing?
Over here in the crosscut.
I don't want to see it.
Come on, we got time. You ought to see it.
Well, what is it?
Nobody knows. When they headed in this crosscut about 8 years ago, they busted right into a tunnel that was already there.
What?
Yeah, can you imagine that? 3,700 feet underground, a blind tunnel.
You're crazy.
I'm telling you. And Indian writing is on the wall.
I don't believe it.
Come on and look. It's right here.
I'll take your word for it, Link.
No kidding. I won't let you get lost. Come on.
Well, you go first.
Light your lamp. There's no light in there.
Well, listen, Link.
Come on. The cage will be back down in a minute.
Hey, wait for me.
Well, come on.
Where are you? Where are you?
Here, come on.
Gee, hey, don't go away like that, Link.
Light your lamp. Here, I'll light it. Hold still. Yeah, that's my last match. There, okay?
I don't like this place.
Picture's right here.
Where?
Here, down close to the floor, see?
Huh?
See? The face.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Flames.
People?
Yeah. Kinda scary.
Did you say they found the place like this?
Busted right into it.
Well, how could anybody get in here to draw those pictures?
I don't know.
Huh?
Nobody knows. There must have been a passage of some kind up to the surface, I suppose.
What do you suppose it means?
I don't know.
Well, where's this tunnel go?
I'm gonna find out someday.
Wait, hasn't anybody been down there?
You can get one of those miners down there for $1 million.
Yeah, nor me.
Well, I'm gonna explore it someday, by golly.
Well, you can do it some other day. Let's get out of here.
Why don't you come with me when I do it, Louie?
Listen, Link. If I ever get out of here, you're never getting me down here again. Not never.
Don't be such a sap.
Oh, come on, let's go. I got a belly full, and I'm scared.
What are you scared of? What's there to be scared of down here? Sure. What was there to be scared of? The entrance to the lighted drift we just come from was only 20 feet away. The cage to take us back to the surface would be there in a couple of seconds. I stepped around a fall of rock that I knew like the back of my hand, and there was the mouth of the passage. But it wasn't the right mouth. There was nothing out there but blackness. Thick, crawling blackness that plucked at the feeble lights in our hats, and there was a wind blowing. There shouldn't have been any wind, and then Louie Sullivan yelled at me.
Link, my light's gone out.
And I said, don't be silly, these lights can't go out. But the light on his hat flickered and died, and then my light went out too. 16 years ago, this coming 26th of January. Little kids that were just out of their daddies have grown up, gone away to that war you had, and come back heroes. Girls that were still in their daddies have kids of their own now. People that were what you might call in the prime of their lives have died of old age since, and I haven't seen... Well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. You want to know what happened down there that afternoon? 2/3 of a mile below where the snow was falling and the people were going about their business. Maybe you might have been in Butte that Tuesday afternoon. You'd remember the headlines in the Standard Post about me. Lincoln Pendarvis Jr., son of the well-known mining executive, and Louis W. Sullivan, son of Mr. and Mrs. Vincent DePaul Sullivan. About us being lost. I heard about the search for us. It was one of the biggest, most frantic searches in the history of Butte. It went on for weeks almost. They scoured every inch of the workings, except the tunnel where the Indian pictures were. You couldn't get those superstitious miners to go in there. And of course, they never found us. I don't want to get excited and emotional about this, partner. It would be so easy to. Maybe before I get through, I may blow my top. If I do, you just go along with me and listen. I don't know whether you're going to believe all this or not, and I don't particularly care. I've got something to get off my chest, and that's what I'm up to. You can flip off your radio when I get done and say, that guy's nuts if you want to. It isn't going to make a particle of difference to me. I happen to believe what I'm telling you, because I've seen it. But you make up your own mind. The only thing is, I want you to remember that I didn't get excited and holler at you and try to scare you. So take it or leave it, partner. I'll personally feel a good tell better for having told you, and that's enough. So our lights went out. So we weren't where we thought we were at all. We were lost. 3,700 feet down in the earth. And I'm scared. Only I know that if I let Louie know I'm scared, there's gonna be trouble the way he is. So I said, give me a match, Louie, I said, and I'll light our lamps again.
I haven't got any matches.
And I remember that the match I used before was my last one, and so I didn't say anything for a minute. And pretty soon, Louie began to cry in the dark. And I tried to shut him up. I said, "Hey, cut it out, Louie. They'll be down here after us in no time." And Louie kept right on crying, and I said, "Louie, do you hear me? We'll be out of here before dark, and we'll ride over to Meaderville, and we'll have a big Italian dinner," I said. "We'll have spaghetti and some of that hot sausage with peppers. We'll have a big veal cutlet and ravioli, and we'll get Dominic to break out a bottle of Barbera." And all the time I'm getting hungrier and hungrier, and Louie's sitting there in the dark, kind of crying.
Mama.
And I go on talking about food and red wine and stuff, and pretty soon I notice Louie isn't crying anymore. I stop and listen. And I figure I've talked him out of his crying for a while, and I say, "How about it, Louie? You go for that, huh? That Meaderville business?" Louie? Louie? Louie, say something, will you? This guy fainted? Louie, where are you? Listen, Louie, don't do that to me. I can hear you breathing.
That isn't Louie you hear, son.
Who are you?
I'm Tom.
Who?
Tom McDonald.
Tom McDonald? Where'd you come from, Tom?
Oh, back there.
Where's Louie?
He went back there, too.
Where, down the tunnel?
Mm-hmm.
By himself?
Mm-hmm.
What? Why, he was so scared.
Oh, he's not scared anymore.
It's funny. Say, I'm sure glad you came along, Tom.
Sure.
You got a match, Tom?
Match? No.
How am I going to light my lamp?
Well, I don't think you are going to light it.
How am I going to get out of here, then?
What's that now?
I said, how am I going to get out of here, then?
Oh. Why, I don't think you are getting out of here, Link.
What'd you say?
Come on with me.
Where?
With me. Come on.
Where are we going?
Back there.
With Louie?
With all of us.
All of who?
Come on, Link.
Where are you?
I'm right here.
I hear you breathing, but I can't...
That's not me, Link.
What? Well, who else is there? Who is it I hear? Tom? Answer me!
Why, son? That's the earth you hear breathing.
And that's when I remembered that Tom McDonald had been buried in a cave-in a year before, and they'd never found his body. I sat there in the dark for quite a while, I guess, before I spoke again. You know, unless you've been down there, you haven't got any idea how quiet it is that far underground. There isn't any echo when you speak. Your voice is just as flat as if you was talking into a blanket. And you think you hear things. You think you hear somebody walking in the dark, and you listen, and it's nothing but the blood pounding in your ears. You listen, and you hear a sound you never heard before in all your life. The sound of your heart beating. And in the dark, with your matches gone, and somebody there with you that says he's a man that's been dead for a year. He didn't speak for a while either. I don't know whether he was still there or not. I called to him. "Tom," I said. "Tom McDonald." He didn't answer. He was letting me think things over, letting me decide I'd better follow him if I ever hoped to get out of there. What did he mean, though? He didn't think I was going to get out. Where did he want me to go? I thought of the Indian pictures, the terrible face, the flames, and the figures of the bearded men. What else was there back in that tunnel where Tom MacDonald wanted me to go? I felt my hair begin to rise, and he spoke again, right in my ear.
Come on, Link. Get up.
I got up. I listened for his footsteps. I heard him speak again.
Come on.
And I made up my mind. I followed him into the blackness. I smacked my head against the walls as I followed Tom's footsteps down the twisted tunnel. I stumbled in the wet black darkness. I called to him, "Tom! Hey, Tom!" And the only answer was plodding footsteps ahead of me. What could I do? I didn't dare stop. I had to follow him. And we walked on, and it was always downhill, and I was so tired I could hardly take another step, and there seemed to be a little glow of reddish light ahead. And the footsteps went on and on. I wanted to stop and rest, but I could hear him ahead of me, and somehow I knew if I stopped, I'd never catch up with him again. And then the footsteps halted, and the voice spoke again.
Stop right there, Link.
Are we nearly out of here, Tom?
Be still.
And the little glow of reddish lights began to grow brighter, and I looked around to see where it came from. I looked around to see who this was that was pretended to be a man dead for a year. I looked around to find my friend who had disappeared in all the darkness, and there wasn't anybody. I stood there, alone, and the light got brighter and brighter, and I heard Tom's voice.
Don't move, Link.
And I heard Louie Sullivan's voice.
Don't be afraid, Link.
And the light got brighter and brighter, and I still couldn't see anybody. And then suddenly it seemed like a great curtain was flung aside, and the place was brighter than day, brighter than 10,000 days. And I still heard Louie's voice.
Stand still, Link.
I heard Tom MacDonald's voice.
Look down, Link. Look down.
And I looked down. I looked down into the flames that leaped at me from 1,000 miles below me. Red and green and blue and colors I never knew existed. It was like looking down from a mountaintop, a whole world of fire, and the flames leaped and pulsed like the beating of a great heart as I looked at them there below me, and I saw...
Watch, Link. Watch! Watch!
And in the sea of flames below, I thought I saw a face. A face that filled the whole world, it seemed. And it was a cruel face, but somehow a serene face. And its eyes gazed into mine. And then it faded. And then I heard the voices again.
You! You saw her, Link! We saw her.
I tore my eyes away from the flames below, and there stood Louie and Tom MacDonald. And I said without any surprise at all, "Yes, I saw her." It was the face of the Indian picture back there, wasn't it?
You saw her!
Who is she, Tom?
That is Mother Earth, son.
No, I wasn't surprised. Tom MacDonald stood there on the brink of that sea of flames and looked at me and talked to me, and I knew it was Tom MacDonald, even though I knew Tom MacDonald was dead. I recognized him. Tom MacDonald, when I knew him, had been clean-shaven. Now he was wearing a beard like some patriarch out of Holy Writ. But there was no doubt in my mind. I can hear that dry voice of his as matter-of-fact as it had ever been.
The Earth lives, son. The Earth lives just the same as we do. She gives us all the gifts she thinks are good for her children. Some of her gifts she is still keeping till we're ready for them. She is a good mother to us all. But when we don't do right, she can be a terrible mother.
I swear, flames leaped higher when he said that.
She asks very little from us, son. But what belongs to her, she takes. All of us belong to her. To Mother Earth.
Then the sea of flames below us seemed to make a kind of great music. That was almost a voice chanted something that I knew I ought to understand, but I couldn't quite get. And as the flames reached higher again and the music rolled up at us, and in their light I saw hundreds, thousands, millions of men and women standing on the same ledge we were standing on, gazing down into the face of Mother Earth, dim and raging fires. And the flames rose higher and the music sounded louder, and suddenly the flames swept up at us to all the millions of people I had seen, and I heard Tom McDonald's voice again through the music and the roar of the flames.
Mother Earth takes us now. You are the one that is left. You will know what to do.
The flames fell back again, and I was all alone. Alone with Mother Earth. It was dark again, but I could see the smile on her face. And I knew. And so I've come to tell you, partner. I said I don't care whether you believe me or not. I know what I believe. I know what I learned. I know that this place under the city of Butte, Montana, county seat of Silver Bow County, population 1940, 37,081, elevation above sea level approximately 1 mile. I know that this place is not the only one in the world where there's a gateway to Mother Earth and her fires. I know there's one back of a certain hangar at Temple Hall Field in Berlin. I know about one near Mono Lake in California. There is one a few miles from Haverstraw, New York. And there are many others. No, you can't find a partner. And the reason why nobody has ever heard of them is simple. Have you guessed it? That's right. Nobody ever comes back to tell about them. There's just one or two other things to tell you, and then I'll be going. Every year, one of these, I'll call them gateways. Every year, one of the gateways supplies the people from Mother Earth. It was Butte in 1932. Last year, they came from a place in Mexico where there's an ancient Maya ruin. In the years between, we who are left go out and bring people back to our underground caverns. To wait. You've heard of people disappearing. There was that man who disappeared from room 307 at the Finland Hotel in Butte. The girl named Lucienne down on Mercury Street in Butte. People who drop out of sight and are never heard from again. That's what becomes of them. They belong to Mother Earth. Incidentally, remember I told you about the gateway behind the hangar on Temple Hall Field in Berlin? Wasn't there a man and a woman who disappeared a couple of years ago in Berlin? Quite well-known people. Don't worry about them. They belong to Mother Earth with all the rest. This year it's our turn again in Butte. We haven't got quite enough people yet, but we'll get them. Mother Earth takes what belongs to her. So maybe, some night you'll wake up suddenly in the dark and you hear somebody breathing when you know there isn't anybody there. Maybe you'll believe me then. Maybe. We'll see, partner. Won't we?
A Mile High and a Mile Deep was written in 1947 by Wyllis Cooper for the radio series Quiet Please. This production of A Mile High and a Mile Deep features the voice talents of R.A. Reutter as Link and Alex Ross as Tom and Louie. Midnight Apocrypha is a podcast dedicated to the revival of retro radio dramas through new productions of series from the golden age of radio. Midnight Apocrypha is brought to you by Widener University's Lone Brick Theater Company in partnership with Forgotten Lore Theater. If you enjoyed our little fiction, you can find out more about Lone Brick Theater Company on Facebook and Instagram. And go now to subscribe, like, or follow Midnight Apocrypha.
Or you never know what may find you.